It's an Ammoload. Currently, it's set up to run 9mm ammunition, but it's capable of 9mm, 380, 40, and 45 ACP. You just need to change out a couple of things in order to change to a different caliber. And if you're going to change to a different caliber, I would let you know.
What caliber you make with it now?
It's 9. It's running 9s right now, and I'll run the machine for you so that you can see exactly what it's doing. But here we have a collator. It's made by MA Systems in Oklahoma. It's a wonderful thing. I changed the collators out, upgraded, I guess you might say. This is a wonderful collator system. It stops based on a sensor when the tube is full, so it doesn't constantly run for no reason. The same thing with the projectile. Once you get it set gravitationally and you get the sweeper set, it runs, it does its thing exactly like it's supposed to do.
How many rounds do you think that those collators have gone through? Have gone through those collators? How many rounds?
I would say 300, 400,000. And
These collators right here?
Yes.
Wow.
But they run exactly like they're supposed to run. They're beautiful.
Yeah. How old are they?
4 years, I believe. 4 years.
Okay.
So the brass we load in here, which is new brass, not used brass. We know it weighs 65 grains, and then we load the projectiles over here, which projectiles are 9mm, 115 grain. They're new also.
Okay.
We load about 1,000 in there at a time. If you overload it, then the weight affects the plate that turns and the clutch. The brass drops down and hits the rail and gets captured here in the first set, and then I have just a place checker here to ensure that the brass casing stays where it's supposed to stay. Then this die bells the neck of the brass, opens it up slightly. This is a spring pin which holds the brass down as the primer gets inserted into the bottom of the brass. Here the powder gets dropped. This is a Hornady. I upgraded this. This is a Hornady case-fed powder drop. It's miraculous, to say the least. If you want 5.5 grains, then we check our powder every 100 rounds. We stop, we check it to make sure that the powder is still set to where it was supposed to set, where you wanted it. In addition to that, we weigh every single round after we've produced the round to ensure that the powder is correct. So this is a highly accurate powder draw system. I put a manual powder check system here. If there's no powder, it's not going to move. When there's powder in it, the rod will rest on the powder, and you have an indicator there that there's truly powder in the case. This is just a placeholder to keep the brass there from slipping back and forth. And you have the bullet disc here, which turns and slides the projectile around to be placed on top of the brass. It just places it correctly. And then the pin here presses down as the motor head goes down and presses the projectile into the case. This is the crimper for the neck, which tightens the brass onto the projectile, and this is just a final sizer which goes down around the projectile to make sure that everything went smoothly. The primer tube, we load the primers in using a Frankfurt Arsenal primer loader, and we load the primers, we put the primers into the case, and then we load them into these tubes. Very easy, takes 10 seconds to put 100 in there. When this runs out, because it has 100 primers, when this runs out, we simply take another tube and then we hold it on top of here and we pull a pin and it's filled again. Just takes 2 seconds. Very, very, very effective. So the primer disc will turn every time in sequence and insert a primer into the bottom, and then when the primer tube is empty, we stop the process, and then we change the primers, and then we check the powder again to make sure that it's still dropping exactly to where we had set it previously. And here's how we do that. Let's just say that we just ran 100 rounds. We'll take the most recent powder, one that has powder dropped, and then we will pour it into the dish. I set it, I want it to be right at 5.5 for this type of powder. That's amazing. 5.3. So we check that every 100 rounds. But as I said, we weigh every single round at the end to make sure that it truly has the powder it's supposed to have. Any questions so far?
Nope. What are all the calibers that you can, I know it's 9mm right now, but you can switch that out?
380, 40, and 45. So we check the powder, we know it's dropping correctly, the correct amount. And when we have everything in place, then we will turn the machine on, make sure the collators are on. They are on. The collators don't need to move because this sensor tells it that the tube's full. So it only moves when it needs to put another one in the tubes. So it's very, very quiet. Normally I will have just put some towels up here to dampen the movement even more. So it's highly efficient. And we're ready to go. This machine will run, you can spin this around and, you know, kind of put your foot to the floor on the gas pedal, so to speak, but I don't do that. Why? If I set it to 40, there's 3,600 seconds in an hour. If I set it to 40, that's 1,800 rounds. Excuse me.
40 seconds?
2,800. No, that's just speed 40.
Okay, that's
If I turn
a
it-
speed sensor, setter?
If I set it to 40, that's 2,800 rounds per hour. That's one round every 2 seconds,
Wow.
which is plenty. And you'll see, you're like, well, that's not that fast, but it's like slow and steady. It's like a train. You run 10,000 rounds a day, easy, and you're not killing yourself doing it.
Right.
So here we go. Everything's ready. Everything's in place. This is my emergency stop where I have room to get up, walk, move, and then if I want to stop for whatever reason, then I just push the button. Now, if I want to stop longer, I'll turn the speed to 0 and turn the DC motor off. This is very important that you always turn the speed to 0 when you turn this off. It's very important, because if you don't, imagine you have it set to here and you turn this off, and then when you step over here and you turn it on and you're not holding this, all of a sudden the machine's going. Well, if your hand's in the way, it's bad. So now we'll go ahead and start. Now watch the process. This is from a plain piece of brass that hasn't even been belled. There's no powder in it. There's no primer in it. That's what it is.
Just a shell.
And it turns out to be this in the end.
It drops right in that little bucket. Ready to put it, insert in the gun.
Now it's time to change the primers. I'll show you how we do that. Here, speed to 0. I've said that before. And off. Now I can let go of the button. I'll grab more primers.
How many rounds can you make with one primer rod?
100.
100, okay.
Yes, because there's 100 primers in.
So you were
in
right at the end of that primer rod. Just now.
Yeah, I had run some previously just to make sure the machine was set up correctly. So that's it.
Okay.
Just like that. Put the pin back in, and then someone else, or you can do it, load the more primers in there. You take the primers out of the box, you drop them onto the tray, you put the tray together here, and it fills the tube.
Oh.
in about 10 seconds, you have another 100 rounds ready to go. So we're not gonna load them right now. Normally I'll start out, as you see, I'll load about 20 rods. It
Right.
takes about 10 minutes. And that way I don't have to do it in between, so think about it. So the indicator, I just took some other type of indicator and I made this myself. So that, because I like it.
Right.
There's
yeah.
no, if you
It's-
if you didn't have that and this got to the bottom and you're not thinking, then you're running a bunch of rounds without a primer. And of course you'll find that in the end when you're like, oh, that doesn't have primer.
Right.
Because you know you do quality control and so forth. But in this way, it'll beep at you and it's time to stop. So we stop at this point, and remember, at this point, let's say that was full, we run 100 rounds. We're gonna do a powder check again to make sure that the Hornady powder drop system is still dropping what we set it at. 5.4, it's amazing.
Beautiful.
It is. Okay, we'll put that back in there because that's usable. We'll put that back on the rail. And we take this bucket over to the quality control table where they are gauged, which means they drop them in a gauger, which I don't have handy. I should have had it. It just now hit me. I'll find that. But anyway, everybody knows what a gauge is. It's a little bitty cylinder you drop them into. Anyway,
Got it.
we fill that up and then we spin them over, turn them upside down, and we put them into plastic trays for packaging. Very easy. So anyway, that's what a gauge is. In addition to gauging, remember, we're gonna weigh every single round. Not every 10th, like some manufacturers, or every 100th. No, why not? You take the time to do that. We know this is an essential step in the powder check process. We know the brass already weighs 65 grains. We know the primer weighs 3 grains. The projectile weighs 115. We want 5.5 grains of powder, or maybe you want 6.5 grains, depending on how many feet per second, or 4.5 grains, or whatever. Anyway, 184 is our target for this particular round. If it were low on powder, it would weigh what? 182. If we were high on powder, it would weigh 186. This is a wonderful way to ensure that you have the powder that
Quality
you're supposed
control.
to have. So, if you want to make beautiful rounds, ladies and gentlemen, every single round needs to be weighed. Okay, so we're back now. Speed was a 0. That's just, I've said that before. Turn the machine on. Always have your finger on the hold button when you turn the machine on, just in case, till you're ready.
And
Now,
when you let it up, it's gonna start.
see, because even if I slip, look, because it's at 0. This is a secondary safety issue. Now I can hold the button and I can turn the speed up.
You like it at 40?
Or I can do it this way. I can start, take my finger off the button. Now I can increase the speed slowly. Because what happens if you have it at 0 and you turn it to 40 to get started, now it's just like, boom.
Right, right.
It's fine, you get used to it. But, see, as I said, printing around every 2 seconds doesn't seem like a lot. It doesn't seem, there's 3,600 seconds in an hour. So if you're doing the math on that, you don't need to go any faster. What's your goal? To make a bunch of sloppy rounds?
Right.
Or to make every round perfect?